Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into an industry that's literally built on centuries of tradition, insurance. But right now, there's a technological earthquake shaking its very foundation. We're talking about generative AI and how it's about to completely rewrite the rules for underwriting, which is, the absolute core of how insurance works. For generations, underwriting has been this delicate balancing act. On one hand, you've got historical data, basically a rearview mirror looking at what's already happened. And on the other, you have human judgment, that invaluable, hard-won experience of a seasoned pro. This combination, it's been the bedrock of the entire industry for a very, very long time.
And this is the question, isn't it? This really gets to the heart of the huge challenge the industry is facing right now. In a world with risks changing so fast, we're talking about everything from crazy new cyber threats to wild climate events, relying only on what happened in the past is becoming more and more dangerous. That old model is really starting to crack under the pressure.
Okay, so let's break down exactly why this traditional model is struggling so much. It's not just one thing, it's this combination of data, process, and people problems that are creating this massive gap between how risk is assessed and what risk actually looks like out in the real world. The single biggest problem with the old model is the data itself. A staggering 80% of an insurer's institutional knowledge is trapped in what we call unstructured data. Just think about it. Emails from brokers, complex medical reports, property assessments, legal documents. Old systems just can't read this stuff. And that means a massive amount of crucial insight is just being left on the table. And of course, this data problem creates a huge human problem. Because the old systems can't understand the data, human experts are forced to do it all by hand. And the result? You have these highly skilled, highly paid underwriters spending up to 40% of their day on boring administrative work. Copying and pasting info between 7 different apps for just one submission, it's a massive, massive productivity drain. And if that wasn't bad enough, the industry is staring down a demographic cliff. That deep, seasoned judgment we were just talking about? Well, up to half of the people who have that knowledge are set to retire in just the next few years. All that wisdom, built over decades, it's about to just walk right out the door. So you've got a broken process, all this untapped data, and a looming talent crisis. The industry needs a serious game changer, and that is exactly where generative AI comes in. This isn't just some small improvement, it's the engine that's really poised to solve these deep, fundamental problems. Now, it is so important to understand that this is not the same kind of AI that insurers have been using for years. Traditional AI, it's great at interpreting structured data. It can give you a yes or no answer, like, is this claim fraudulent? But generative AI is a whole different beast. It understands language and context. It can read that 80% of unstructured data and actually create something totally new from it, like a perfect, concise summary of a 1,500-page medical file.
The magic behind all this is a technology called large language models, or LLMs. A good way to think of them is less like a calculator and more like an incredibly well-read research assistant. One who has read pretty much every book, article, and website ever published. All that training allows them to understand the really subtle relationships between words and ideas, which is what lets them read, summarize, and generate text that feels, remarkably human.
But, and this is a big but, this does not mean the human underwriter is obsolete. Not even close. The best way to think about this technology is as a co-pilot. It's a powerful partner that handles all the data-intensive heavy lifting, which frees up the human expert to focus on what they do best, making really complex judgments. I absolutely love this metaphor because it just perfectly captures the relationship. A GPS is an incredible tool, right? But an expert driver knows when the road conditions or their own local knowledge means they should probably take a different route. It's exactly the same here. The AI provides the data-driven route, but the human underwriter is still firmly in the driver's seat. And hey, this isn't just theory. Look at this real-world example from Allianz. They built a tool called Brian, so an underwriter can ask a complex question in just plain English, like, what are the coverage limits for this specific type of water damage? In seconds, Brian gives a clear answer. And this is the critical part. It shows its work. It gives a direct link to the exact page in the manual it used. That's speed plus verifiability. And it works. During its pilot phase alone, Brian successfully answered almost 3,000 real-world questions from underwriters. This basically codifies the knowledge of your most senior experts and makes it instantly available to everyone. which is a pretty powerful way to fight that retirement crisis we talked about. So what happens when you give underwriters tools that multiply their efficiency? Well, the impact doesn't just stop at their desk. It creates this powerful ripple effect across the entire insurance lifecycle, connecting everything from how products are designed to the way claims get paid. See, GenAI can break down that traditional wall that's always existed between underwriting and claims. For the first time, insurers can analyze all that vast, unstructured data from claims, like adjusters' notes, legal reports, repair invoices, and feed those insights right back into the underwriting models. This creates what's called a virtuous cycle, where every single claim makes the next underwriting decision that much smarter and more accurate. This deeper understanding of risk ushers in a new age of what you could call hyper-personalization. So instead of a one-size-fits-all policy, imagine getting coverage that's tailored to your exact needs, with premiums that can actually adjust based on real-time data from, say, your smart home devices or your car. Insurers can even generate policy documents in plain language, making sure everything is clear and compliant. At the end of the day, this changes the relationship entirely. The insurer is no longer just a company that sends you a check when something bad happens. They become a proactive risk partner, using data to help you spot and reduce risks, helping you avoid the loss in the first place. And the business case for all this? It is just overwhelming. I mean, just look at these numbers. We're talking about up to a 90% reduction in underwriting cycle time, a 2 to 5% improvement in loss ratios, which for profitability is absolutely huge, and the potential to double the rate of submissions that actually turn into quotes. These are not small tweaks. They are completely transformative. So, where does this leave the human in the loop? Well, it's not about replacement. It's about evolution. The role of the underwriter is actually being elevated, moving them from a technician to more of a strategist. The job moves away from all that manual data entry and document review and shifts towards interpreting AI insights and making judgments on the most complex and novel risks. Instead of just following a rulebook, the future underwriter is managing the algorithm. They're shaping portfolio-level strategy, and they're focused on the risks that defy any simple categorization. In this new world, the uniquely human skills become even more valuable. We're talking about things like negotiating a complex deal with a broker, making a judgment call on a completely new type of risk, and, maybe most importantly, having the wisdom to know when to question and even override the AI's recommendation. These are the skills of the future. Which brings us to our final, and maybe the most important point of all. Success with this technology isn't really about the technology, it's about the people. The biggest investment isn't in the algorithm itself, it's in the training, the new workflows, and the cultural shift it takes to build a truly augmented organization. Look, the models are here, and they're just getting more powerful every single day. The technological hurdles are falling away. So the real question for the insurance industry, and frankly for all of us, isn't about the machine anymore. It's about our own readiness to adapt, to learn, and to build a new kind of partnership between human intuition and artificial intelligence.